I recently acquired an old Winchester model 1873 in the 32 WCF caliber. After spending some time cleaning it up and getting it ready, I wanted to try shooting it, but as you probably know, 32 WCF ammo is practically impossible to find. So I've never been a reloader for rifle and handgun ammo, but I used to load a lot of shotgun when I used to shoot a lot, skeet and trap years ago. And I decided it might be easier to just load my own 32 WCF. I've been saving rifle and handgun brass for years, thinking one day I'd get started reloading, so it might as well be now. So I bought the Rebel loading kit from RCBS and got started learning about using it. Soon discovered that finding 3220 brass for reloading was no easier than finding the ammo. After looking unsuccessfully for a couple of weeks, I came across a mention of converting Nagant 7.62 brass for use as 3220. I could not find much in the way of details for how to do it, though. So that's when I decided to try it and share my experience here. I'm an admitted novice in making videos and also in reloading to share, and I probably won't be doing it often enough to get much better. So here you go, in case any 32 WCF fans want to give this a try. So I started out by buying some 7.62 Nagant brass online from Liberty Tree Collectors, which cost me about $30 with shipping. This is a straight-sided case that is very similar to the 3220, except it's a bit longer, and the 3220 is neck down to fit the smaller bullet. So the first step is to cut the cases down to length. I did this in two steps. First is a rough cut, and second is a fine cut using the Lee case trimmer. The rough cut is done with a tubing cutter, which is pretty straightforward, but I also found it better to use a tubing flare tool just to clamp down and hold the cases for cutting. You can see that I'm using the edge of the groove in my cutter's wheel as a guide to line up the end of the cases. It's just coincidence that this turns out to be a good rough cut length for me. This is not intended to be a tutorial on the use of a tubing cutter, but suffice to say you should start out gently and advance the blade slowly. The result is a pretty clean cut that will be finished with the Lee case trimmer with a 3220 trim die. You can see about how much needs to be cut off. I'm intentionally leaving these a little bit long so that the Lee trimmer will do the finishing cut. On the right side you see a 3220 round that I did have. So you can see it's a straight side, and I'm putting them through the sizing die first. You can see the cases are neck down to the actual 3220 dimensions. I want to point out here that this step is probably wasted effort because, as you'll see later in the video, the bullet seating process with the .313 round nose flat point lead bullets I got just pushed the cases right back out beyond their original shape. If I do this again, I would skip this initial sizing step and do all the shaping at the end. See how that works. So now it's time to turn to the final trim. The Lee trimmer and 3220 trim die makes this easy, since the die determines the length dimension properly for the specific round, 3220 in this case. The book says that's 1.305 to 1.315. You can see that my rough cut produced a variety of lengths. I'm checking the length before and after each trim. Starts out at about 1.37. I don't have it exactly flush there, but you get the point. This was my first use of this trim die and the trimmer tool. This first time I don't think I put enough pressure, downward pressure, to trim it all the way down. It only gets to 132, but I went back, put it back in, trim it down a little more, and it got down to the length I was looking for. After practicing with the trimmer a few times, I was getting consistent 1.30 and 1.31 lengths. My calipers don't measure to the thousandths, so this feels good enough for me. Starting out at 132. Trimmer takes it down to 130, which is perfect. Starting out at 134, 5. Even as long as 138 was not a problem for this trimmer. So that rough cut I did with the tubing cutter just needs to get it in the ballpark, but make sure it's no shorter than what you need. To recap, each one of these cases has been through the rough cut with the tubing cutter, and then the sizing die. So you can see the little bit of a neck on those. But again, if I had it to do over again, I wouldn't bother with the sizing die at that step. So these would be cutting the straight-sided shells. Once I get through with the trimming, proceed with the priming, charging, and bullet seating on each one of these. I'm not going to show that in the video because that's standard processes. You can find other videos that are better suited for that if you don't already know how to do that. You want to point out that you want to clean this blade on this trimmer every 10 shells or so. You get a lot of brass shavings in there, so it helped to keep that clean. So this went on for all 50 shells, and then did the priming, powder loading, and bullet seating. And you can see that this bullet seating pushed the shell back out, so it no longer has the neck down look to it. So the final step then is to reshape. So I pulled the decapping pin out of the sizing die for the 3220, and I'm going to use that to do the final shape. So I'm thinking that even if I had not done the sizing in that second step after the rough cut, these shells would still look the same with a little bit of a bulge from the seating of the bullet, and then this final sizing run through cleans everything up. That's the final product. Here's another one. Notice the bulge after the bullet seating. Run that through the sizing die. Makes it look perfect. Some of these shells have a wavy look to them. See, this one I was wondering whether this one would even work. But the sizing die from Lee cleans everything up, makes it look perfect, just like came out of the box. And there you have it. A full set of loaded 3220 from Nagant.